Hello, I'm Dr. Shah, and I'll be talking to you about another form of contraception that we are using. This is the intrauterine contraceptive device. There's a very interesting story about how it originated. They say there was this guy called Grafenberg, a German, who was traveling across the Sahara Desert in a caravan. And what he sees is these Arabs taking round pebbles from near about, washing them thoroughly, and stuffing them inside the uteri of the camels. So he was quite intrigued, and he asked them, I said, why you're doing it? He said that if during the long trek across the Sahara Desert, one of our camels becomes pregnant, she's useless for carrying weights. So we do this, and they don't conceive. This guy goes back, and he actually forms a ring. He made it out of silver and gold, and these were known as the Grafenberg rings, and he used them. But unfortunately, that was the time of the Hitler invasion, and the Otto rings and the Grafenberg rings were kind of lost to the public for some time. It was only later that they came into more focus. Unfortunately, Grafenberg himself had to run away, and he died before getting any credit for having been the first one to discover an IUCD. Of course, IUCDs have come a long way since then. They made different versions, they made a Dalcon shield, and as they made better and better versions, they realized that there was something wrong here, something wrong there, and over the years, they finally boiled down to something which was known as a loop. The Lippes loop, it was called, and it was an S-shaped device which was pushed inside. They then went on to things with copper in them, which were the copper T devices, and now we actually have devices which have medicines inside the intrauterine contraceptive device, which are known as the levonorgestrel carrying devices, and they are medicinal in addition to being an intrauterine contraceptive device. Now, how does an intrauterine contraceptive work? It works basically because it changes the internal environment, it causes a kind of an inflammatory reaction, and in copper-bearing devices, it changes the enzyme reactivity, and in the medical devices, the medicine itself causes a thinning out of the endometrium, etc. How do we use it, and when do we use it? Basically, it's a beautiful form of contraceptive device, but the person using it has to be properly selected. In India, we generally use it after having your first child for birth spacing, and we can use it later on also when you do not want any children. But important things to consider before getting your intrauterine device pushed in is that do you have any infections in your vagina? Do you have any pelvic inflammatory diseases? Is there anything other associated which could lead to ineffectivity? The other thing that you have to always remember when you get it inserted is that at the time of insertion, there should be complete asepsis observed, both by you and by your doctor. After the insertion, it is better if you let the device kind of settle inside your body. Of course, you can start having intercourse as and when you want, but if you give it some time, it's a little better, let the device settle down a little, say for 4 or 5 days. You should learn how to feel your threads after you've inserted the copper T device. Each of these intrauterine devices has a thread which hangs inside the vagina. The importance of the thread is that every time after your menses, you should feel the threads. If you cannot feel the threads, it can only mean two things. Either the device has gone in a little more than what it should have, or it has been expelled. Because for the body, it's a foreign device. It tries to expel out anything which is foreign to its own self. So therefore, there are many times, many women are very comfortable thinking, look, I've got an IUCD inside, I cannot get pregnant. And lo and behold, they find that they actually have conceived with the copper T inside. Although the failure rate of the copper T is much lesser than that of a condom, it still has a failure rate. And if with the copper T inside, you miss your periods, you must check you out with your doctor as to whether you're pregnant or not. There is one thing that any IUCD user should remember. Sometimes you can conceive with intrauterine contraceptive device inside. Now, if you conceive with the Lippes loop inside, you can continue the pregnancy. But if you conceive with a copper T inside, it is said to be better not to continue the pregnancy. Tune into my channel, Life Live now, live healthy, only with Sushruta.